West Ham fans had been begging for Mark Noble to return to the club, as he was seen as a big stabilising force both on and off the pitch. Earlier this month, Noble returned and started his role as sporting director, in which he would be an advisor to manager David Moyes and the board. 3 weeks into the role, it became rumoured that Noble was going to resign due to frustrations with the transfer policy and certain aspects of his position too. He voiced his concern to the hierarchy at the club, and it was believed that Noble had threatened to resign. David Sullivan later responded to these rumours with a one-word answer saying that it was rubbish. After Noble and the club had held talks, Mark Noble started to realise that he had an important role and started to discuss more targets of this window. To quote the West Ham Ways article, "The situation is resolved and all parties look to continue working together and building a strong working relationship going forward." It had me very worried when I first heard this news, but there is something that I would like to point out. Mark Noble probably wasn't going to tolerate any malice or maltreatment by the board, and was probably standing up for himself and for what he was going to have as his own personal values within the club. It's something that I did fear would happen, in all honesty. I thought that Noble would clash with David Sullivan at some point. But yet again, I do understand Noble's frustration. One reason for understanding the frustration is because of a comment Noble made in his autobiography about the fans' reaction to signing new players. He said that not every player out there is, quote, like a Messi or De Bruyne. He was said that he was sick of West Ham fans obsessing over players because they'd done a step over or seen highlight reels of them scoring amazing goals or taking on loads of players. This was probably a stab at the 2018 transfer window and also past recruitment. Noble's going to have a very specific criteria for what he wants to sign and who he wants to bring into the club. He's going to want to bring in players who reflect his kind of attitude from where he was playing for the club in his playing days, and in this day and age rather, it's very difficult to find that. At the same time, I think he's frustrated at the amount of money that gets spent on useless players who don't prove themselves. As we know many times, the club has spent £179 million. It's now about £194 million if you include the recent signing of Danny Ings within the season. And Noble's probably trying to get a point across saying, well, we shouldn't be spending all of this money if the players are not going to be used right, or we risk being relegated and they'll all leave. Noble probably gets to say what he really thinks now. As club captain, he was somewhat constrained because he didn't want to lose his position within the team or his credibility within the club. That said, when Grady Diangana was transferred against David Moyes' wishes, Noble tweeted about it to say that he was disappointed and shocked that Grady had left. This was calling out the board. These same people are now his bosses at a board level. He's going to have to learn to work with David Sullivan even if it kills him. And he's definitely going to have a big role within the dressing room and the manager. As much as I like Declan Rice, I don't think he has the same captain material as Noble. And it reflects in both his body language and sometimes his interviews. We need a leader who picks his head up and just tells it as it is without making up excuses. Noble never made up excuses. This is not to say that Declan Rice won't be a good captain in the foreseeable future, but he needs someone who can give him some support off the pitch while Declan's on it. That's why Mark Noble's coming in. again to help. Noble's role is very important. It's going to have a say in how he conducts the transfer business within the club. It's got a role in his advisory aspect. But there seems to have been a bit of a problem. And Noble threatened to resign scared a lot of people. If he's not happy with the way the club's going, that's going to tear him up, because the West Ham's all he's ever known in his life. And it would be a shame for him to leave. So he's got to work with the board and bite the bullet in a way, even if it will kill him. And if he needs support, he's got to get it from the top of the hierarchy. Otherwise, he will resign for real, and then we'll be in trouble. Thank you very much for watching this video. As per usual, give it a thumbs up if you like it. Don't forget to sub for more content. And I wish you all the best. Take care.